Hey, good.
Thanks again for joining us. We're going to go straight to questions for Coach Dykes.
Coach, coming out of the bye week, what did you guys work on? What do you feel you accomplished?
Yeah. My biggest thing is I think for us, it's pretty clear kind of what we've struggled in. And so I think for us it was, tried to focus a lot on fundamentals, playing lower up front, obviously better ball security, tackling, just all the stuff that's important. So we had a bunch of opportunities last week to get, work in. And I thought we had really good practices and improved. And I think this week's we're off to a good start. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing. I think the biggest thing for us, again, when you sit down and you have a chance to reflect on the first half of the season, it's all been about turnovers for us. And, when we take care of the ball, we give ourselves a chance to win. And when we don't, we don't.
Ruled out Cam Rising yesterday. Has that changed the way you got prepared for the game?
Yeah, a little bit. I think a little bit. I mean, Wilson's had a lot of time to, he's played a lot of snaps. So it's not like he hadn't started games and hadn't played snaps. But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit different offense when he's in the game. But at the end of the day, they kind of do what they do. I think the fact that he's got the whole week to prepare, that there's some clarity, I think, at that position probably helps them. Just because I'm guessing that there's been, splitting reps and that kind of thing as Cam's been trying to get healthy. But, but that's, I don't know how much different it's going to be for us from a preparation standpoint, but it will be a little bit.
Coach, did you get anybody back this week?
Yeah, we got some guys back. Got Javon McIver back, which was good. We needed to get him back. Trent Battle is back. Shad Banks will be back. So it's good to get those three, primarily back. So all three guys that have experience and have played in a bunch of football games and will have a significant role on special teams and also on offense and defense.
You talked about position battles going on throughout the year. Were there any changes though? I mean, like
Yeah, there's some stuff. I mean, that some guys that I think will probably work themselves into more reps, and that's always the byproduct of guys getting experience and playing, and guys playing well, and guys probably not playing as well as they should, and all that. And so we're always kind of adapting and adjusting to which guys can we count on, which guys can we trust, which guys perform at a high level when they get an opportunity to.
Coach, you mentioned that some of the problems were with turnovers this year. You mentioned on Brian's show yesterday the physical practice was great. Was there any issues with the physicality of the team the past first six games?
I mean, look, you always want to play more physical. I mean, I think that's the thing. That's football, and the more physical you can be, then the better you're going to be. And so I think for us, obviously Utah, that's what they're known for. I mean, that's kind of their trademark. That's what they hang their hat on, is their physical nature. And so, we've had to, prepare for that, but at the same time, we want to be known for that as well. And so that's our hope, is to be known as a fast physical football team. And typically, if you can do those two things well, then you're going to have a lot of success. And again, for us, the biggest key right now is just taking care of the football and continuing to win at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
when you played there when you were at Cal, did y'all play a night game?
Yeah, we did. I think it was kind of a late afternoon, early night game. It wasn't a 8:30 start like this one is, but it was late. It was later.
Anything stand out about
Yeah, I mean, good crowd, really good student section. I was impressed with their fans. Loud, I think we've prepared for that. I think it's probably one of the best home field advantages in the Big 12. Got a great record at home. They really play well on their home field and traditionally have been very difficult to beat there.
Coach, you mentioned after the Houston game that you feel that there's a disconnect between what's happening in the middle of the week and what you're seeing on Saturday. Have you been able to identify?
Yeah, I mean, I think again the big part of that is just turning the ball over. That's something that we just haven't done in practice. I mean, we went 3 weeks in fall camp and didn't throw an interception. And that's kind of been a problem for us. And so, we've just got to get these things fixed. And part of it has just been, putting ourselves in some long yardage situations. Part of it's been probably pressing, trying to do a little too much in situations. And so we just got to get settled in and play with confidence. And I think that's the biggest thing for us right now. It's just understanding if we'll go out there and perform at a high level, that's going to give us an opportunity to win. And we don't have to do anything extra. We don't have to try to fight for extra yards and do the things that cause turnovers sometimes, and just got to do a good job of taking care of the ball and being aware of it. And obviously that's been a big point of emphasis for us the last 10 days.
You said after that Houston game that you still have an opportunity to be a good team. With 6 games left, what do you see as being a good team?
Well, I mean, just playing well. I think that's the thing. I mean, that's always what you want to do, is play well. And then if you'll play well, then that gives you an opportunity to win. And then typically, if you can do that, then, you start to gain confidence. And, teams I've had in the past have done that. You know what I mean? I think that you have issues every single year. You try to fix those issues. That's not an overnight fix typically. And so it's like anything else. What you pay attention to is typically what you get. What you emphasize is what you get. And obviously, we have a pretty clear vision on what we need to emphasize and the areas that we need to improve in. And so I think that's going to be the key for us moving forward. It's just play well, play to our capabilities, which we've done at halves this year. You know what I'm saying? We haven't done it for a full game, nowhere close. And, the goal is to, not put one half together, try to put 4 quarters together and play well for 4 quarters.
Travis facing his old team, kind of going back to his recruitment process. What made him stand out to you during this time?
Who'd you say that?
Travis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he, what we liked about him was his competitive nature. When we put the tape on, I mean, he's competing, he's fighting. He plays with that kind of an edge and that kind of confidence. And I think that's why he's been successful. He's obviously athletic. He's obviously, can run around and make plays. He's not afraid to play physical, wants to play physical for the corner position. But the thing that stands out, to me is just his ability to compete down in and down out. Playing corner is a difficult position. That's something that's, you got to have kind of a short memory, and he's done a good job of just fighting, and I like his competitive nature and the way that he competes every day.
Sonny, last week some changes happened in recruiting with the national letter of intent going away. Obviously there's a replacement coming. Have you had time to kind of absorb what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been following it and trying to make contingency plans and all that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's, that are possibilities. I think like anything, the devil's always in the details. And so what is this going to look like? I mean, there is an awful lot of unknowns at this point. A lot of things that have to be decided that to me are going to be, the crux and the important things of what comes out of all this. Because I think we all knew kind of what was coming from a broad-based perspective. I think that it's a little bit like NIL coming. When we heard it was coming, it took on a completely different form than I think anybody anticipated. And so, my hope is that the decision makers are going to be really careful about, making decisions that, are going to create a level playing field in college football. I mean, it's never going to be completely level, but I think that's the goal that we're all hoping for, is to, that most teams that are in the Power Four are going to have close to the same resources. I think that's going to be good for the game. I think that's going to be good for the fans. I think it's good for players. I think it's good for everybody.
So with that said, the transfer portal, the window shortening, the roster limits that are coming, how do you build a roster for instance?
That's a good question. I mean, that's, we've obviously spent a lot of time kind of projecting that already. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What are the numbers going to be? And then trying to figure out, is there, whatever the I don't know what you call it, salary cap, I suppose, is going to be, you know. And is it really going to be that? I mean, just all the stuff that's out there. You know, for right now, we just got to try to focus on, you know, playing well Saturday. I mean, that's obviously our main focus and attention. But at the same time, you have to make some long-term plans because you're trying to recruit players and you're going to have to try to retain players and do all this stuff. And my hope is that, you know, some of this stuff will start to come to fruition sooner than later. So you have an idea of how to move forward. Because it's like anything. I mean, if you don't, the people that are going to suffer are going to be the players. You know what I mean? I mean, that's going to be the problem is, you know, if we don't get some details and some information on some of this stuff pretty quickly, you know, those guys are going to be at risk. And that's what you don't want, you know, and I think it's complicated, I understand, and there's a lot of possibilities and you know, opportunities, but you want the players ultimately to be taken care of. You know, you just hope that, again, those decision makers keep that in mind.
How much of an impact is a 105 limit going to have, if that's the number? I mean,
A significant impact. Yeah, just, I mean, I think it's going to change the way you practice and I mean, just a lot of things.
Does it change the way you evaluate talent on the phone?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what it does is that, you know, it's hard because in the past you would have, you know, developmental guys. And you could bring somebody in and you could say, well, we're going to recruit this young man. And, you know, my hope is that by year 3, he's ready to play, particularly in your offensive defensive line. And it's going to be very difficult to do that moving forward.
Are you a general manager or head coach?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
It's kind of.
I mean, and you kind of always have been. I mean, you know, look, roster has always been important. You know, it's just, you know, some places have had NIL for 100 years. You know what I mean? And some others haven't. And it's just, I mean, that's just college football. It's the way it's always been. My guess is that's the way it's going to continue to be, you know, because there is, you know, powerful schools that don't want to play on an equal playing field. And I don't blame them. But, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Kyle Whittingham's kind of a throwback guy. He's been in one place, has had other opportunities, I would assume,
Yep.
to lead. Does he get enough respect? Is he a Hall of Fame coach?
Oh, yeah, definitely a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, I think he does. I mean, I think for people that really know football, I mean, Kyle's not a flashy guy. And so he's not going to be doing a bunch of commercials and stuff. But I think everybody really respects him. You know, I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, just as his consistency. You know, his teams are always well coached. They have an identity. They play hard. Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that's, you know, in the game of football has a tremendous amount of respect for Kyle and the way he does things and the way he goes about his business on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, it's not about him. And I think, you know, in today's world, you know, there's not many guys that are kind of at high-profile programs or very successful programs that you can say that about. I mean, you know, it's always been about his players. It's always been about the program, and never been about him. And that's, you know, that's why I respect him so much.
We'll go 2 more questions if you have them for Coach.
Sonny, you mentioned identity and how Utah always has a kind of a standard identity. What would you say the identity is of TCU?
Well, I would say right now we're a team that's, you know, been inconsistent. I think that's our identity right now.
Final question?
What have your conversations have been like with Josh in terms of the turnovers?
Yeah, the big thing has just been, you know, I think for him, it's just understanding that, you know, the biggest part of playing quarterback is you know, being able to decide. You know, you make 80 decisions a game, you know, and you've got to be able to decide, you know, when is the juice worth the squeeze. And I think that's the hardest thing that quarterbacks have to learn is, you know, there are times that you have to do those things and there are times that you don't. And so you just have to be smart and not try to do too much. And a big part of that is just trusting the the players around you and the talent in the system and just having an overall confidence in your team. And I think that's when a quarterback has that, they can play at ease, and they know that they're not living and dying on every single play. And I think that's, once we got to get Josh to that point where he feels that way. And, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But we've got to figure out a way to get him just to go out and take what the defense gives him and not try to force things.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Excuse me.
Hey, come back. You want to eat?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, how about